All right, let's see if I can try and get this done all in one take because it's been a long day and I'm eager to get to sleep. Hey there, fiber friends. Sarah is back from my yarn lab, bringing you day 2 of the Tour de Fleece 2019. And you can go back to day 1 and see a breakdown of my first project of the Tour de Fleece, my plans for how I'm going to spin a sweater worth of Marled yarn to knit Stephen West's Marled Mania sweater. And I'll link that video right here. But today I just want to dive into my progress and share with you some acquisitions at the Olds Fibre Week, which is here in Olds and was happening this weekend. And friends of mine and I went to the marketplace yesterday and checked that out. So first off, my day 1 spinning was that black double checked. I'm fairly certain it is Ashford Merino. I know that their Corriedale colors tend to be more commonly available, but I've spun their Corriedale before and it definitely does not have, Corriedale has just like a little bit of a crunchiness to it, or a little bit, it's not Merino Corriedale, right? And so this here definitely is Merino. And I double checked on the website, and Ashford does carry all of the Corriedale colors in Merino as well. So, filled up a full bobbin yesterday, watching the UFC fights with my husband Kevin, and mindlessly spinning singles with my default draft, which for me is sort of like a supported in my front hand and a backwards draft with a little bit of front support to control the girst of my single. This is, you know, a lace to fingering weight. It's not the most consistent yarn in the world, but I'm not overly worried about it. It's very, very similar to, if not identical to, the singles that I created when I knit my Marled magic shawl back here. So, one full large bobbin for my Ashford Kiwi spinning wheel full of black merino. I didn't weigh it, but I would guess that this is probably about 80 grams. I find that you can fit like 100 grams if you really pack it on, and my guess is about 80 to 90 grams of black. So, as per yesterday's discussion, I'm going to 2-ply it with this loop bump here. This is one of the bullseye bumps from the Loop, and I'll link their Etsy shop below. And I've already started spinning today this the second single for the yoke section of that sweater. I've never spun one of these bumps before, and I'll just go ahead and tell you, it spins like a dream. Because this is, I wouldn't quite call it a pencil roving, but it's definitely a finer, more drafted out prep than, you know, what commercial roving usually looks like. So it's cotton candy consistency, nothing's felted, nothing's grabbing on itself, and it practically drafts itself out for you. Spins just incredibly fast. So I'm going to do some more tonight before I go to bed while this uploads, and I plan on just powering through this and having my 2 singles ready to ply in a couple days here. The only caveat is, what I noticed is that if I tried to draw up out of the bump as I was spinning, I was want to accidentally break the roving or the sliver. So what I had to do is actually stop the momentum of my wheel and then sort of go ahead and draw out a little pile, a pile of this, and then spin it all up and then stop my momentum on the wheel. So that just might be reflective of my multitasking abilities, but it also is, I mean, this is super, super cotton candy. Like, you can see just how easily that drafts apart. So having this bump sitting next to me on the floor and trying to draft and feed up out of the bump was causing it to break. So that's the only caveat, but minimal slowdown on the ability to just fly through spinning this. So that's my progress for Tour de Fleece so far. And now I just want to quickly show you some of the acquisitions, which are primarily fiber-based, that I made yesterday at the Olds Fibre Week Market here in Olds, Alberta. So first off, although we were supposed to be doing a once through pre-shop before making any purchases, I spotted this project bag, which is just aggressively rainbow sequined. I've never seen a sequin project bag before. This came from Ginger Snap Ginger Snap, and she's a local Alberta dyer, project bag maker, knitting merchant extraordinaire. Her booth is spectacular. It's Kim Nelson is the owner. I will link to her website in the description below. Please check her out. Please buy all of the things from her. And chatting with her, this was the only one she had, and chatting with her, she said sewing through the sequins on her machine was such a pain in the butt. She will probably never do it again, and she only made 4, and this was the only one left, so I had to have it. I'll show you the inside real quick. It's little rainbows and clouds, just super cute and super, super shiny and sequiny. So, first acquisition there. The rest is fiber. So, I've been doing a couple of fiber markets, and so I'm always on the lookout for things that could be incorporated into bats or roll legs. And I picked up these 2 bits of fiber to do that with. So these came from Dweedlebug. Again, website in the description below. And this bag of 100 grams is Corriedale and silk. And it's just, the silk's a little bit noily, which that's my favorite way to have silk, is to have it sort of be a little bit raw and a little bit noily, and mixed into a beautiful fiery red color. And this guy here is Corriedale and nylon glitter, or stellina, I guess. And the colors are sort of teal and black and purple, and hopefully you can see some of that really great sparkle in there. So I grabbed 2 bags of that. The next purchase that I made is something that I have lusted after every year that I've gone to Olds, and I haven't purchased yet, so it was time. And this came from Heart West Haven. This is a sheep farm in Alberta. They're just sort of southwest of Calgary, I believe. And the thing that makes her fleeces so stunning and spectacular is that they actually coat their sheep. So when you coat a sheep, that means that the bulk of the fleece is going to be free of vegetable matter, free of dust, free of dirt, like just the cleanest that a fleece can be, despite having been grown on an animal, for a year in the field. And so they're just not comparable to anything else, basically, unless you have your sheep in some sort of like super sterile, there's not even grassier environment. But it takes a lot of work because, you shear your sheep and you put a canvas coat over it. And as that fleece grows out, you need to keep upsizing the coat, because you don't want the coat to ever get so tight that you would have any kind of abrasion, really, between the fleece underneath and the coat. You wouldn't want to cause felting. So, it can be a lot of work to go and be checking on the coats and make sure that you're on the ball about upsizing the coats as the fleece grows. But the result is stunning and completely worth it. This is 100% purebred merino. It's looking golden yellow here because of the lanolin, but the sample that she had washed up was just perfectly white. The crimp is incredible. Just the tiniest bits of roughness on my hands are enough to sort of catch the fiber, so that's just how fine it is. And it's clean enough that I would have no problem flick combing the locks open and spinning this right in the grease. So I have lusted over her fleeces before. This isn't the full fleece. This is about 22 ounces of fleece from a sheep called Tina, but it's stunning. I mean, just like, look at this lock. The staple looks like we're 2.5 inches, and I hope that my little GoPro camera here is conveying to you just how amazing the crimp is and how dense the fleece must be growing on these animals. Just perfect. So I picked up that bag of fleece from Heart West Haven. And then the rest of my purchases came from West Coast Colors. So they're a husband and wife team that come in every year from BC. They are phenomenal people. I've purchased fiber from them before. And this year I purchased some fiber as well as this 1 pound bag of fleece here. And I'm a sucker for anything that has 2 colors because in my head I'm like, oh, like this bag right here I can spin and do a colorwork project. And this came off of sheep from their flock. And they're both CBMs, or California Variegated Mutant, which I believe is a conservation breed. And I'm not sure how many of those flocks in that breed are in Canada. But it's very similar to merino. It's a low micron, high crimp, tons of lanolin, just really stunning fleece. So half of this bag came from obviously brown sheep, and half of this bag came from a white sheep. And to me, I'm like, I could knit a colorwork sweater from this bag. I mean, there's a ton of lanolin in here, so it might not actually be enough fiber in the 1 pound to do a whole sweater, because with sheep like merino, the lanolin is enough to contribute a significant portion of the weight of the fleece. But there's a colorwork project in this bag, and I could always incorporate some of the merino from the other fleece. I have a Cormo fleece at home that is even darker chocolate than this color, so all of this would just play beautifully together, and I couldn't resist. From their booth, I also picked up about 400 grams of this really stunning purple robing that they card in-house. It's Falkland, which is a real workhouse yarn fiber, and they're actually clearing out. They're not going to carry this style of yarn anymore, or fiber anymore, so it was on sale, so I couldn't resist getting a sweater's worth of this really stunning purple color. And just before I run out of space on the card on this camera, I also grabbed about 200 grams of undyed Falkland robing to dye and play around with. Anyways, that's it for acquisitions. I'm seeing my available time left on my SD card here tick down as I talk, so I'll call it a night. That's day 2 of the Tour de Fleece. That's all for now, so happy spinning, happy knitting, happy crocheting, happy weaving, felting, whatever it is you do. Happy experimenting with fiber, because after all, this is the Yarn Lab.